If you remember Indiana Jones riding llamas, Jones Sr. with a rocket launcher, and Marion transforming into a monkey, then you grew up playing LEGO Indiana Jones The Original Adventures. But which one? Because there were 3 completely different versions released across 9 different platforms, and in this video we're going to compare each of them. But first, let's set the scene. The year was 2008 and Traveller's Tales were looking to expand the formula established in their widely successful LEGO Star Wars games to other properties. And so, Indiana Jones, Star Wars' sister franchise, seemed like a natural fit. It was another trilogy of classic films with high-stakes action, big set pieces, plus Han Solo gets a whip in this one. Now, this series would be a bit trickier to adapt into the child-friendly LEGO format. In addition to dealing with some more mature subject matters, Dr. Jones encountered a lot more violence and gore on his adventures than his smuggler counterpart. So, how did Traveller's Tales do? Well, let's begin with the flagship version released for the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and PC. And just like the movie, we start with the prologue of Indy in the jungle. Now, the controls are almost identical to the LEGO Star Wars games, only this time around Indy can use his trademark whip.
Correct that whip.
And this game taught us kids a valuable lesson. Most of your problems in life can be overcome with a good whipping. See a chasm? Well, swing across it with a whip. An annoying death trap obstacle in your way? Whip it. Giant spiders? You guessed it.
I said whip it.
Alright, we've got to work very carefully to solve this puzzle. Whoops, sorry. The LEGO genre does lend itself very well to all the different puzzles and booby traps that Indy encounters across the 3 movies. But playing this game with your younger sibling was very much a test of patience as they kept on dying. In particular, this bit with the big rolling ball. Now, this was the era before voiceovers in LEGO games, so many of the cutscenes are lovingly recreated with the trademark pantomime LEGO humor. And just like in the movie, Indy escapes the jungle, returns to university where he gets hit on by all the students, and then gets his assignment to investigate the Ark of the Covenant, which is being hunted for by, bad guys. Just generic German bad guys. There's no political affiliation whatsoever. The next level has Indy arrive at Marion's bar in the PAL, and then proceed to destroy the place. Oh look, Sir Sean himself provides the hints in this game. Ladies are more nimble and can jump higher than other characters. You'd know all about that, wouldn't you, Sean? But yes, just like LEGO Star Wars, the characters are broken up into different types, each with their own unique ability. Look, it's Arnold Tock, just a generic German bad guy in the 30s looking for the Ark. No affiliation whatsoever. Now, the original Indiana Jones trilogy doesn't have as many action set pieces as Star Wars, so naturally the developers had to expand some sections like this level in the snow outside the bar. Hey fellas, you wanna cut it out? I'm trying to build a snowman. Get a load of these llamas. Okay, the next level has Indy and Marion make their way through the marketplace, and this being a LEGO game, it's filled with your typical mix of platforming, puzzles, and chopping up bad guys with a giant scimitar. You know, it's quite ironic that for the longest time LEGO as a brand didn't actually include any weapons in their sets because they didn't want to seem like they were encouraging violence. Well, that definitely went out the window by the time this game came out because we've got swords, spears, and more guns than the latest Call of Duty game. Okay, serious question. Who's got the better LEGO cleavage, Indy or Marion? Now, most of the level has you chasing this monkey around and exchanging bananas for things like spanners and dynamite. We definitely have to liberate these poor camels from the evil Actually, what are they officially called in this game? Just enemy soldiers. Just generic enemy soldiers. All of them with blonde hair and blue eyes. Oh yeah, the developers definitely knew what they were doing. And of course, this wouldn't be a classic LEGO game without all the little Easter eggs. For example, we've got this barbecue you can construct. What are we cooking? It's 2 human heads. Okay, moving on. The hat checkpoint also makes its way into this game. That hat sure does look familiar. I think I remember Christopher Waltz wearing it in that one movie he did, Django Unchained. The next level has Indy and Sala head to the desert where they uncover the Well of the Souls. A lot of the puzzles in this level revolve around getting rid of snakes because, you know,
I hate snakes, Chuck!
So while they're around, Indy is pretty much useless. The next level has Indy and Marion work together to make it through the dig site. And what I mean by that is Marion fighting all the bad guys while Indy rides around on a bike wearing fancy hats. And just like in the movie, they have to fight this big brute around the airplane. Although he's not exactly big here, is he? He's exactly the same height as everyone else. It's like the reverse of little Anakin, who was the same height as 6'5" Qui-Gon Jinn. And look, if Indy jumps in the plane, the poor fella just becomes confused confused and starts pacing on the spot. Oh geez, he's doing it again. Don't worry, Marion. Whoops. This is actually a really long level. The boss battle is followed by this truck sequence where Indy has to jump from one to another, taking out all the soldiers. Now, the final level of the first movie takes place on the island. In the movie, Indy has to go on a bit of a solo sneaking mission while Marion is held hostage by the bad guys. But, this being a co-op game, Marion actually gets to join Indy, which results in both characters running around the camp, launching rockets at everything in their sight. Now, the movie's climactic ending actually has its protagonist tied to a pole, which doesn't make for a great video game, so the developers threw in this boss battle against Belloc. Oh, Indy, come on, the Ark is right there, use it! Or just smack him with a shovel, that's good too. And then we get the film's iconic ending, which has naturally been toned down. And speaking of disturbing, let's move on to one of the darkest, goriest family movies ever made, The Temple of Doom. Just like the movie, we start with the song and dance sequence, although this one is rather condensed. The start of this first level has you playing as Willie and Indy, who has been poisoned. Oh god, Chewie, is that you? Poor Indy, he's so sick he thinks he's in the wrong movie. Now, Willie has a special power which is screaming, which works great on glass, not so great on evil Chinese businessmen. We then move down to the streets where we're joined by Short Round, who is thankfully size appropriate this time. I like that these two adults are just watching this orphan child fix their car for them. Ah, there we go. Wahahaha, Short Round's revenge. And yes, in case anyone's wondering, this game does allow for children to wield weapons. Indy, are you okay? I don't think the poison's quite worn off yet. The trio board the plane, but they're soon forced to jump out over the mountains where they meet the village chief with this fascinating hairstyle. Now, Temple of Doom's plot revolves around an evil cult kidnapping children to sacrifice them through dark rituals. And understandably, this game approaches this difficult subject matter with subtlety and finesse. And then we get to ride the elephants. The trio make their way through the jungle, solving a bunch of puzzles, and then arrive at the creepy temple. We do get the gross dinner sequence, however, the flirting section between Indy and Willie has been cut out. I guess they kind of felt awkward with Short Round watching, but at least we do get the claustrophobic ceiling trap from the movie. I've got it. Oh, okay, maybe not. Of the three original movies, the Temple of Doom's subject matter is definitely the one the developers had to skirt around the most. For example, this priest fella, he's not so bad. Look, he's just sacrificing the kids' clothes, right? Also, Indy doesn't get brainwashed by the potion. Instead, like a true hero, he takes one sniff of it and then beats the bad guys up. This bad guy does blow up though, so that's something. Alright, do we get to ride the carts now? Eventually, but first we have to go through this long level saving the children. Okay, but then we get to ride the carts, yes, but you've got to build the railway first. Hey Shorty, you want to pass me the wrench? No time for love, Dr. Jones. Now, the card sequence itself is pretty simple. You just smack enough of these signs until they turn green. And growing up, did anyone else just use this as an opportunity to smack your sibling in the other cart? The final level starts with the trio escaping the flood. Look at Indy just riding the wave. Let's take some of these hats back home as a souvenir, shall we? Hey, you are the guys who have been stealing all of our hats. And finally, we have the battle on the bridge against the priest and all of his goons. The secret here is to punch him in the back of the head while he's force choking Indy. And that's it, the bad guys all get eaten by crocodiles, the kids are brought back to the village, and Indy and Willie live happily ever after, for about 2 weeks. The trilogy concludes with The Last Crusade. There's no young Indy flashback in the campaign, instead we go straight to searching for Henry Jones in Europe, accompanied by Elsa and Brody, who just can't help beating up the locals. Look at Indy trying to chat up the ladies with a pizza. It's either pizza or a big slice of orange. Indy and Elsa then solve the X marks the spot puzzle and descend down into the underpassage, leaving Brody to destroy the library in a fit of rage. He hasn't been the same since his wife left with the Lego Rock Raiders guy. Indy and Elsa go through the tomb and then play bumper boats with the Fez Brigade until this one fella decides to park up the boat next to a ship propeller. The next level has Indy break into the castle to rescue Jones Sr. Again, they had to curb the adult undertones, but I like how Jones Sr. still tries to go in for a kiss from Elsa. Indy and his father then stage a daring escape from the castle. And this is great. After all, what other game has elderly Sean Connery running around with a rocket launcher? No sidecard for 007, he gets his own bike this time, which he can use to do wheelies and jump over ravines. For some reason, the developers decided to skip right past the section where Indy gets an autograph from Admiral Ozzel and goes straight to the Zeppelin. The father and son duo beat up a bunch of Germans, then can take off before making a swift emergency landing. Henry Jones then beats up the remnants of the plane to make a flying apparatus. Easy, easy, I've got this. Thanks, Junior. Now get the f*** out of my way. The goal of this level is to find enough seagulls to harass so they can take off and crash the plane. We then get the ambush in the desert stage, which mostly revolves around the tank battle, first in the pit and then as a chase. The last level is the Temple of the Grail, and the LEGO humor is on full display here to mask the gruesomeness of this scene. See, look, Henry Jones is fine, he's just been split in two, which is actually worse than what happened to him in the movie. Now, everything inside this level is trying to kill you, so naturally Indy dragged poor Sala along as the co-op companion. The puzzles from the movie are all there, from the letters to the invisible bridge. The big difference is that the old knight actually goes berserk this time around, which means you have to fight him while trying on all the different holy grails. Nope, not that one. And that's it. The temple collapses and the good guys ride off into the sunset, which ends the campaign, but this being a LEGO game, it's full of all the extras you'd expect. There are a bunch of playable characters, artifacts, and mini-kits to collect, and 3 bonus levels. We get the young Indy prologue from the last Crusade, and then 2 sandbox levels, the Ancient Temple and the Warehouse. But my favorite bonus are the 5 Star Wars character Easter eggs you can unlock, including Luke, Leia, Chewie, and the 2 droids. And that's it for the flagship version. Now, the PlayStation 2, Wii, and PSP version are pretty much the same apart from a slight downgrade in graphics. However, the Nintendo DS version is very much its own beast. Yes, the levels are all based around the same parts of the movie as the console version, and the gameplay also focuses on puzzle solving, combat, and platforming, but the structure and design of every level is completely different due to the DS hardware and lack of co-op. The minifigs have also undergone some changes. For example, the ladies don't get to jump higher in this one. Instead, Marion has an endless supply of booze bottles that she can throw at the bad guys. Also, sometimes she can transform into a monkey. Willy doesn't scream anymore, but her and other non-action based characters now carry these umbrellas that they can use to rappel down ropes or just smack people with. The levels are also filled with these touchscreen mini-games, and the game does ask you to blow it quite often. This time around, the young Indy prologue is actually part of the Last Crusade's campaign, and for some reason this version also has this creepy clown as a bonus character, which means you can have Bozo go on the search for the Holy Grail. You have chosen poorly. And finally, we have the Java mobile version. This is a pretty simple platforming game. Indy goes from level to level, jumping over obstacles and using his whip to take out the enemies. And he can also crawl in this one. Just look at that Lego ass wiggle. Every now and then you'll have to use your whip to swing over a chasm or outrun a big ball. I'm gonna make it. Ah, shit. All in all, this is a nice little platformer that encompasses all 3 of the movies. And so there we have it, every version of LEGO Indiana Jones, the original adventures. A great effort by Traveller's Tales to prove that they could branch out beyond Star Wars while keeping the pick up and play LEGO formula. The games also managed to successfully capture the spirit of the movies, even if they did have to tone down some of the more mature elements. And while it hasn't become as renowned as its space-based cousin, the original LEGO Indiana Jones game has become a fan favorite. It did spawn a sequel which also had a bunch of different versions, so let me know if you'd like me to cover that game in the future. And the Indiana Jones franchise has seen its fair share of non-LEGO adventures through the decades. So leave a comment below if you'd like to see videos about any of these games. As always, thanks for watching, please consider supporting me on Patreon, and a big thanks to my existing patrons. Also, if you've enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.